So what is success? It's a word we throw around all the time, but what does it really, truly mean? Is it that quiet, personal feeling of hitting a goal you've worked for? Or is it about what everyone else sees, the fame, the money, the recognition? Most of the advice out there just tells you to work hard. And yeah, that's part of it. But today, we're going to look at success through a scientific lens, to see if we can find its hidden formula. Let's dive in.
Right off the bat, even the dictionary is confused. It gives us two totally different ideas. On one side, success is all about you, achieving something you wanted. On the other side, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with society, getting rich, getting famous. And that right there, that's the tension we're going to unpack.
So, to get a handle on that second definition, the one all about social status, we have to turn to a network scientist named Albert Barabasi. He actually uncovered a set of universal laws that govern how success works in the real world, and trust me, some of them are going to blow your mind.
Barabasi's main idea is a total game changer. He basically says that measurable success isn't about how good you think you are. Nope, it's about how the network, your industry, your community, society as a whole, responds to what you do. Ultimately, your success is a group decision.
Okay, so let's get into his first law. It goes like this. Performance is what drives success. But, and this is a huge but, when performance can't really be measured, it's the networks that take over and decide who wins.
Just think about it. For a sprinter, it's simple, right? The fastest person wins. Success is easy to measure. But what about a painter? How do you measure if a painting is good? You can't. So success comes down to who you know, which galleries show your work, what the critics are saying. The network decides your value.
All right, moving on to law number 2, which really builds on that idea. It says that performance is bounded, but success is unbounded. So what on earth does that mean?
Let's use a real-world example. You've definitely heard of Usain Bolt. But have you heard of Tyson Gay? He's the second fastest man in history, only 0.11 seconds slower than Bolt. The difference in their performance is tiny. It's almost nothing. But the difference in their success, their fame, their fortune, is absolutely gigantic. Society just gives wildly more credit to whoever is number one.
Now for the third law, and this is a concept you've probably felt yourself, even if you didn't have a name for it. Success breeds more success. Scientists call this preferential attachment.
I mean, this idea is so old, it's literally in the Bible. The rich get richer, the famous get more famous. A perfect modern example? The Kickstarter for the card game Exploding Kittens. The creators were already huge online, so their first little bit of success just snowballed into this massive avalanche, raising over $8 million when they only asked for $10,000. Their previous success gave them a crazy advantage.
Okay, on to the fourth law. This one's all about teamwork, and more importantly, who ends up getting all the credit when a team does something great.
We know from research that diverse teams get the best results. But our brains, well, they love a simple story. So we have this tendency to pin the success of an entire group onto one person, one visible leader. We say Elon Musk's SpaceX or Einstein's theories, and we completely forget about the huge teams of people who made it all possible. The credit just sticks to the most famous face.
And finally, we get to the fifth law. And this one offers a little bit of hope after all these other rigid rules. It's simple. With persistence, success can come at any time.
You know, we have this myth of the young genius, that you have to make your big breakthrough before you turn 30. But just look at Albert Einstein. He once said something like that himself, but then he went on to do some of his most groundbreaking work on quantum physics much later in his life. The big takeaway here? It is never, ever too late.
So hearing all these laws, it's pretty easy to feel discouraged, right? To think, well, the whole game is rigged by networks and forces I can't see. And you know what? In some ways, the external world does play by its own set of rules. But that is only half of the story. The other half is about the one thing you have absolute total power over, your own mind.
And this brings us to the incredible research of a Stanford psychologist named Carol Dweck. If Barabasi gave us the rules for the external world, Dweck gives us the key to our internal one. She discovered that what we believe about our own abilities, our mindset, is one of the biggest predictors of our actual success. So Dweck found there are two basic mindsets. Someone with a fixed mindset believes their intelligence and talents are just set in stone. They don't change. So they avoid challenges, because if they fail, it feels like a final judgment on who they are. But someone with a growth mindset? They believe their abilities can be developed through hard work. They don't just put up with challenges, they actively look for them, because they see them as chances to learn and get better.
And this isn't just some fluffy, feel-good idea. It is based on hard neuroscience. The concept is called neuroplasticity. It means your brain isn't fixed. It's constantly changing and rewiring itself based on what you do. When you practice guitar, the part of your brain that controls your fingertips literally grows. When you struggle with tough problems, you are physically strengthening the pathways in your brain. Believing you can get better is the first step to actually getting better.
And Dweck has the proof. In this landmark study, she tracked a bunch of 7th graders. The students who had or were taught a growth mindset saw their math grades steadily climb over 2 years. The kids with a fixed mindset, their grades either stayed flat or went down. Your internal beliefs have a direct, measurable impact on your external performance. It's that simple.
So we've got these two incredibly powerful keys. On one side, you have the external laws of networks that decide how the world is going to measure success. And on the other, you have the internal power of your own mindset that determines what you can actually achieve. The big question is, how do we make them work together?
Well, it really boils down to 2 steps. First, you have to acknowledge the rules of the game. You have to understand that networks matter, that luck plays a part, and that the world doesn't always reward people fairly. You just have to accept it. But then, step 2, you focus relentlessly on the things you can control. You build a growth mindset. You embrace challenges, you learn from your mistakes, and you know that your effort and your persistence are the real engines of your own improvement.
Look, understanding these laws doesn't mean the game is rigged against you. It's like someone just handed you the instruction manual. And with a growth mindset, you've got the engine to move forward. The bottom line is this: you now hold both keys. The only question is, what are you going to unlock?